This episode is brought to you by Bulletproof Script Coverage, where screenwriters go to get their scripts read by top Hollywood professionals. Learn more at covermyscreenplay.com. I want to touch really quickly. You said something very interesting. You believe villains are heroes?
Yep.
Can you touch on that? Because that's fascinating. I'd love to hear your take on that real quick.
Yeah, well, villains are how I made my career, and it all started as a kid when why is Long John Silver the bad guy? Mm-hmm. Why is Captain Nemo the bad guy? You know, I started as a kid. I'm going, wait a minute, Captain Nemo wants to end slavery. He wants to abolish weapons of mass destruction. He wants to end war. You know, I'm voting for president. You know, he's my guy. And then he invents nuclear energy. So far I'm getting people going, good, nuclear energy. Well, no. And then he destroyed nuclear energy because he knew what we'd do with it. We got our hands on it. Mm-hmm. I cried when James Mason goes down with the Nautilus. I wanted to kill Ned Land and Kirk Douglas for throwing the bottles and having him blow up his stuff. I couldn't figure out why he was the bad guy.
Right.
Same thing with Long John Silver. Long John Silver taught Jim Hawkins so much about being a man and being loyal and being a mate. You know, when Jim had a chance to shoot Long John at the end when he's stealing the treasure, he let him go. He learned so much from Long John. Same thing with Dracula. When I finally started researching Dracula was a fallen angel. He wasn't a guy in a tuxedo who just wants to suck your throat. There was a story. So villains to me villains advance history. Villains force society to change. You know, they force us to advance and to achieve new, and also they're visionaries. We may not always agree. Every one of Jules Verne's The Man Who Conquered the World, you know, all these guys were visionaries. Right. John Galt in Atlas Shrugged, the visionary. Didn't agree with his politics, but he was a visionary. You know. So the villains started jumping out to me like, wait a minute, why is the villain so misunderstood and so, you know, and then suddenly we now have and these were all villains from literature, mm-hmm. You know, for me. Jekyll and Hyde is a big one for me. What Robert Louis Stevenson intended. His wife burned his first manuscript. That's the one I wanted to read.
Really?
Yeah, she burned it.
Why?
I'm sure it revealed too much about them, you know, because he led a double life in real life. He led a double life with his mates. He would take them to London, give them nicknames, give them identities. They'd whore and wench around. Then he'd come back up to his little Calvinist, you know. So suddenly the villain was more interesting to me than a hero. The least interesting character in Star Wars is Luke, till he finds out who his father is. Then suddenly he's interesting.
You're absolutely right.
You know, Harry Potter is another kid who's going to learn bad magic for bar mitzvahs until he finds out who his father is. Right. Yeah. So the villain is also what makes you special, and I think Vogler and I both agree on this. It's what forces the call to action. What forces a hero to emerge is the villain. So the hero is really indebted to the villain, and I don't call them villains anymore as much as a nemesis. You know,
right?
The villain to me sound like a cardboard thing in a video game or a mustache twirling.
And that's one of the things about villains that, I mean, without a good villain, the story doesn't go forward. Like no. you could have Hercules, but without, you know, all of the perfect example in today's age, Marvel movies. I mean, Thanos was an amazing villain, and that they built it up over a decade of films and how they built that up to the point where at Endgame, when everybody, literally the entire universe, Marvel universe has to come to fight him all at the same. That's why that's such a cathartic moment. Yeah. But that without Thanos, it's just, or if he's a weakling or he's not as, you know, and it's a balance too, because when you have a villain that's so powerful that there's no hope that he could ever be beaten, then it's like, why are we watching this?
Yeah. And that's why Darth Vader, when you get Darth Vader's backstory, and that's why George did a brilliant job in Jedi, of actually getting to see Anakin as that gentle older man who you could see as being Luke's father, you know. And even Anakin. I mean, I would do this. I ask this to my students: Why is Darth Vader bad? What did he do that was so terrible? Well, then you go back to the lore, and he went to the dark side to save his wife. You know,
Right.
he chose the dark side to save his wife's life. That's love. So that also gives you some redemptive quality at the end of this work. The script I'm writing right now, another Gallico novel, The Love of Seven Dolls, has a horrible, terrible nemesis in it, and slowly begin to reveal why he's like this, and why he can't stand there to be anything pure and uncorrupt. He has to corrupt everything. And there's a reason why. And when you find out that reason why, when you find out what that villain's Achilles heel is, it's not just a way to kill them, it's a way to understand them and empathize with them.
Well, like in perfect example, Thanos, he just wants to, it's overpopulation. It's too much overpopulation in the world. My solution
Which
is
is not wrong.
He's
not wrong.
He's not wrong. How he approaches it is wrong, and that's where the villainous aspect is to these characters. But it's not like the olden twisting the mustache to be bad just for be bad. There's no depth there, and that's what drives a good story.